this meeting of the Monongalia County Board of Education to order. All rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We're going to start off tonight's meeting with a moment of silence for Christina Drainer, a former Spanish teacher who passed away on February 11th. Moment of silence, please. Thank you. Okay. We have 5 delegations this evening and have signed up. And I'm going to read the delegate at the top of the form that you guys signed when you, or I guess you just signed in, to make sure everyone understands the rules of delegation. And it reads as such. Speakers are requested to express themselves in a civil manner with due respect for the dignity and privacy of others who may be affected by your comments. While it is not our intent to stifle public comment, speakers should be aware that if your statements violate the rights of others under the law of defamation or invasion of privacy, you may be held legally responsible. If you are unsure of the legal ramifications of what you're about to say, we urge you to consult your legal advisor. And I also want to make one more thing clear. The board members cannot respond to a delegation. As much as sometimes we want to assure people, we just simply, against the policy, to respond to delegations. It has everything to do, add a little bit of explanation since I said that, with the fact that if there was an other side of the story, they would be here also tonight. I don't know what you guys are going to speak exactly to. So, our first delegation is Finn Monteith, and it's about AP Capstone. We got 5 minutes per speaker if you guys wish to take that long.
Can you hear me all right? Sorry, I don't.
Nope.
No. Okay, I'm sorry. Should I grab the microphone? I'm so sorry.
No, the mic is not for projecting.
Okay, so I should just, all right. Of course.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Sorry about that. Good evening. My name is Finn Monteith. I am a junior and soon-to-be senior at Morgantown High School. I am an honors and AP student, and I am here to advocate for the AP Capstone program at Morgantown High. When AP Capstone was first introduced to students last spring, we were told that it would be a 2-year commitment. For AP Capstone, the first year is called AP Seminar, which I am currently taking, and the second year is called AP Research. I actively shunned other opportunities at MHS to take AP Capstone. AP Seminar has been a dream class for me. I have been afforded the chance to study topics entirely new to me. I have also analyzed topics I thought I knew in ways that have forever changed my worldview. AP Capstone students also have the unique opportunity to complete several academic research projects over the course of 2 years, learning skills that many don't even begin to grasp until they're well into their college careers. We also discover how to better collaborate with peers and solve interpersonal challenges while seeing from others' perspectives, abilities that are so incredibly important in this day and age. I was so excited to keep studying in this program as a senior in AP Research this fall. Imagine my devastation when I found out that this opportunity would not be given to all students currently enrolled in AP Seminar. We were recently informed that only about 20 of the 51 students interested in AP Research would be able to enroll in AP Research this fall. This has been extremely upsetting, as many of us will not be able to see the fruits of our labor over the past school year. We were told that this was a board decision, and so we have come to the board to ask what we can do to save the enrollment numbers for the upcoming school year. What can we do to ensure all 51 students can continue with the second year of AP Capstone? We wish to work further with the Board of Education to do whatever is needed to ensure that students get the opportunities they deserve. I sincerely thank you for allowing me to speak this evening, and we would greatly appreciate any assistance and cooperation you can give.
Thank you. Our next delegation is Mark Nessel Road. It has, the concern is MHS Foundation and MHS Auditorium. Is that, you want to do that now? Okay. That's part of the agenda for tonight. Our next delegation is Holly Montgomery Downs, AP Capstone, MHS.
Thanks very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. In just a couple minutes of your time, Finn provided an excellent overview of the situation at Morgantown High School right now with regards to the capstone and seminar double course series that was offered last year. So I don't need to detail any of that. What I want to emphasize is a possible unforeseen complication of having rescinded the opportunity for over half of the students who are currently enrolled in that course. I don't need to belabor all of the pedagogical benefits of the students that are received by the students who are enrolled in AP courses at our high schools in Mon County and, of course, around the entire country. There's tremendous research showing the benefits of these in terms of critical thinking, working in groups, being diligent, and so on. And I have no doubt that the students who are taking the class this year are receiving all of those benefits in abundance. In fact, as a mom of one of the students who's in the course, I am seeing every other day when he's in this course, him coming home and talking to me about the kind of things that he's learning. And as a university professor, I know that those are exactly the skills that we look for when we admit students to many different universities around the world. The possible unforeseen complication, aside from the disappointment and the dismay that the students are experiencing with this shift in the opportunity, is the other reason why students often take AP courses, and that is for college admission benefits. So a quick survey of the websites of universities around the world showed, of course, long lists of the advantages of students having taken high school AP classes. They look, and I'm quoting just generally across a broad spectrum of private and public universities in this country and in others, taking AP courses by high school students shows that they can commit to rigorous academic work, that they're dedicated significant time and effort to academic pursuits, that they build skills and confidence, that they show motivation and dedication to schoolwork, that they master organizational skills required to succeed in college. I've got a long list here. You don't need to hear all of it. The point is that when these students now apply to university, if they took the first of a two-series courses, and they only took the first one, that doesn't send a message that this student is dedicated or confident or that they can spend time in their academic pursuits in a directed way, any of the things that are being looked for by these universities. What it shows, unfortunately, I'm afraid, is the opposite, that they took the first course and then for whatever reason, which will be left up to the imagination of the admission officer at the university, they didn't continue. They can, of course, use precious personal statement time in their college applications to try and explain the context that they were put into by Mon County deciding to drop this course. But in the very, very delicate decision-making process, I'm afraid that that is not time well spent. Unfortunately, for over half the students currently in the course, this first year of the course series is probably also not time well spent. Thank you.
Our next delegation is Owen Trunk, AP Capstone.
Good evening. I'm also here to talk about AP Capstone. As I'm sure you can imagine, the AP programs are a not insignificant amount of work or financial commitment for the students who take them. The end of year exams cost, in terms of AP seminar, over $100. Unfortunately, this decision to not continue the program for basically at least 2/3 of the students devalues both the effort and the monetary commitment they put into the program. That is not to say that AP Seminar alone is not a very high quality program, however, it is not what we committed to. Also, having students compete against one another to get into AP research, the second part of this program, completely undermines the spirit of cooperation, which is absolutely vital to success in the first part of the program, AP Seminar, which includes a not insignificant amount of teamwork. So you can imagine our dismay when we're being asked to basically compete against our own peers who we're supposed to be working with. So, yes, AP Seminar alone is a very good program. However, failing to offer the opportunity to take AP research to all students devalues basically everything that makes AP Seminar so good. Thank you.
Our next delegation is Evelyn Ryan, and it's Black History Month and flag.
The flag got continued to next month.
Hi, I'm Evelyn Ryan, and I'm not speaking about Morgantown High Advanced Placement. I'm here to talk, since this is the last board meeting for Black History Month, I'm here to talk about someone that's been ignored in Monongalia County. The movie Hidden Figures was on TV the other day, and I watched it, and while the story focused on Katherine Johnson, the secondary story was that of Dorothy Vaughan. And Dorothy Vaughan is actually the second chapter of the book Hidden Figures, and it says, and I quote, where'd it go? When Dorothy was 8, actually was 7, the family relocated to Morgantown, West Virginia, where her father accepted a job working for a successful Negro restaurateur. There she attended Beechhurst School, consolidated Negro school located around the corner from West Virginia University. She graduated, I believe, unfortunately they didn't include that in the book, but I presented a copy of the Wikipedia entry, which is very comprehensive, and the obituary. But when she graduated in 1924, yes, she was given a 4-year scholarship to Wilberforce University, Black College, 1924. And at the same time, the American AMC churches handed out a 6-page booklet about her accomplishments. From there, when she graduated from Wilberforce, she was urged to go on to graduate school, but instead she became a teacher in Virginia. Keep those states straight. And after 12 years, she got a job at the predecessor of NASA. Now, the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals describes her as, upon her retirement in 1971, she was regarded as one of NASA's greatest minds. Now, we do not have any plaques honoring her. There are a number of buildings and plaques honoring Katherine Johnson, but none as far as I can tell, honoring Dorothy Vaughan, especially in Monongalia County. Beechhurst School was part of what is now the Monongalia County school system, and I called the Morgantown High School attempting to find out contacts to suggest they put her in the Morgantown High Hall of Fame, but I could never reach anybody. But I find there's a problem. Beechhurst High School was a separate black school. Technically, it doesn't fold into Morgantown High, but I really feel the school board ought to, in some way, honor this woman with her plaque, because she went on to run the computer. She taught herself Fortran and went on to run the Fortran computer system in they used in NASA. So this woman, she was just as brilliant as Katherine Johnson, but her story did not stand out as much in the movie, and that little West Virginia reference seems to have been looked over by local residents. So, I presented, as I said, a copy of the obituary, which has her children's names on it, and the Wikipedia entry, which has gotten much longer since I printed it out, and contains a great deal of information about her successes and accomplishments. And I feel that the Board of Education should honor this woman in some way. We'll talk about the flag next month.
Thank you, Evelyn. Okay, Superintendent, moving on to grant presentation and DERA grant.
Are our presenters here for the grant? No, they didn't make it. So
Moving on to school performance.
we can move on if they're not here. So we'll move on down to item A under school performance, student outcomes and academics, and the board is going to receive a report tonight regarding our pre-K and our kindergarten registration. So we have with us tonight Debbie Jones and Susan Hasleybacher, who handle both of those areas for us. So thank you, ladies, for being here.
Good evening. I hope that you can hear me. I'm recuperating from one of the various bugs that seem to be going around. But if I start getting softer or a little hoarse, I will stop. I do have water here. But thank you for allowing me to be here this evening. My name is Debbie Jones. I'm the Director of Early Childhood Services for Monongalia County Schools, and I want to say right off the bat, I love my job. I really, really love my job. And I'm going to tell you why. Being in the classroom was great, but being one of the first faces that people meet, not that I'm, carrying around glamour shots all day long or anything like that, but to get to meet our incoming children is a privilege, and to get to work with the families is an honor. So we have open pre-K registration for this year. It opened the week of February 13th. We offer an online version of the application, so if that's more convenient for families, they can complete the application online. And last year we started one email where they could send their documents. So the process is getting more streamlined as we go. If parents are uncomfortable with the online registration, they may come in person, and my staff or myself will sit down with them, work with them on the application, answer questions. Sometimes they're not sure what school will be their home school. So we work with them and we try to help them out with that. My goal is to make this process as painless as possible for our families, especially when it's their very first child coming into school. We do serve 4-year-olds who have a birthday on or before June 30th. We also service 3-year-olds who have been diagnosed with a developmental delay or have an IEP. Parents that need a collaborative site, that need before, after, or Friday care. We have resources for the families, both our collaboratives that are partners, and if they are just needing child care, we do have a list of the other, I think there's 31 child cares in Morgantown. If they are going to one of our collaborative sites, they can just register there, and then we gather that information and take care of that a little later on. You might ask, okay, why is this so important? Well, we utilize registration data to help us project the number of classrooms that we are going to need to service our youngest learners. As with most grade levels, we do have caps in pre-K. The highest we can go is 20 children per classroom. But we do have some best practices that we follow where there are some classrooms that we service slightly less. At this time, since it just opened, it is a little hard for us to project the number of classrooms we'll need, but Ms. Tallarico and I talk all the time, and she will just pick up her phone and say, give me some numbers, tell me where we're at, and I can pull that data easily and give that to her. Prior to the start of school, and this is something relatively new, our elementary schools will host a welcome to pre-K, welcome to our school. At that time, I will have as many of my staff available to be present there to welcome families and to help support the school. It's a good opportunity to start the foundations of relationships. And relationships and partnerships in education are extremely important. Just a little summary. As of today, we are serving 769 preschool children across the county. That is, if you break that down, that's 578 preschool, universal pre-K children, and 191 Head Start children. 35% of the Head Start population is currently being serviced with an IEP, 19% of pre-K, and overall 23% of our preschool population has a developmental delay or is serviced with an IEP. We recruit all the time, but we have a big push for recruitment starting back in January. We recruit through the county webpage, and you can see that now, that's up. But prior to that, working with Ms. Tallarico, we had the county billboards that advertise registration. We use social media. We place flyers throughout the county, and this year we place flyers at 80 locations. So I'm very excited to meet our families. I'm very happy to take a few minutes of your time to tell you about all the great things that are happening in pre-K world. And I'd like to ask, do you have specific questions of me at this time?
I would just comment, if you put all those heads in one building, that's an elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's full-blown school on its own.
It's larger than the elementary school
Right.
that I was assistant principal at, yes. And we do keep track. We monitor their progress through their ELRS, and yeah. But it's a labor of love. And now I'm going to introduce Susan.
Did you have something to add?
Oh, Mr. Berry.
Oh, yeah. Did I have that look? I just had that look. No, mine's not a specific question, but when I hear people come up and tell us wonderful things that go on, what can we do more to help you? I mean, that's a lot of kids under one roof, and they're all, pre-K mostly, and
Well,
do you
luckily
need
they're
more?
not all under one roof. They're spread
Spread
throughout
out, okay.
the 10 elementary schools. But I have been afforded a luxury by this Board of Education to hire a great staff. And they are very supportive. They want to work with our families. Sometimes they're in tough situations, and they come back and we have to talk through it, because life's not all a bed of roses. We have some really struggling families, and sometimes we have to step back and breathe for a minute and say, okay, what can we do to help support them?
So how is your staffing? Do you have enough
Yes,
professionals?
yes, yes.
Now's the time to ask and say, hey, maybe we could use more. But, okay, I'm
No.
glad to hear everything's doing well.
We are doing well.
Okay, good.
And Miss Tallarico knows that if I get too many students, I'm going to call her and say, I need another classroom. I need a teacher. Help me out. And
Another classroom space.
she's very supportive of our program, as well as Dr. Campbell.
Hi, I'm Susan Hosleybacher. I'm Supervisor of School Health and Homebound Services. I'm also over kindergarten registration. Thank you very much for having me here tonight. It's not the normal role that you see me in, but we are running kindergarten registration basically along the same guidelines as we do pre-K registration. It also started on February 13th, and it will run through April, just like pre-K. And everybody who is 5 no later than June 30th is eligible to start kindergarten. We target the pre-K students that are in pre-K and Head Start students that are in our elementary schools, Mon County schools. We target our collaborative pre-Ks. We also target the other pre-Ks and private child care that we have here in Monongalia County. And how we target them is, once again, with billboards. We also have it posted on our webpage. We also have flyers. We've actually provided flyers to the collaborative sites and to these private child care facilities, because we want to make sure that everybody in Monongalia County Schools knows that, number one, if your child's going to be 5, before June 30th, then you may start kindergarten, which is when you should be starting kindergarten. The majority of our students that come into kindergarten actually come from our pre-K programs. That is probably 80 to 90% of all of our kids. It's a small percentage that students are not in that type of a program, but we want to make sure that they know that it's kindergarten time and that we get them in and register them. There's an online registration platform that they go online and they register, and everybody will register on that platform. If they cannot do that, we have a secretary here in our board office that works with them and will do what is needed to help them get registered, whether it be give them paper copies or help them actually go through the computer program and get registered in. Also, once a student is registered, because pre-K students, for the most part, we try to get them in their home schools for their pre-K programs. But there's times that those pre-K classrooms fill up, and therefore they have to go to another school site. Also, our collaboratives can be students from various home school sites. So the secretary that we have working on the registration process actually checks each student, talks to every parent, ensures that they are signed up, registered for their home school, and we have everybody where they're supposed to be, so that we too can project how many classrooms we're going to need for kindergarten in each school and adjust our staffing as needed. It's an exciting time. You've got all these people that are just so excited about being here, and we're so excited to help them through the beginnings of their education. One of the things that we do is because we want to make sure that there's a connectedness between the student, the parent, and their home school. And the first Friday in April, there's a visitation day for students that are registering in their home schools. And they will be coming to the school, the home school, where they're going to meet teachers and they're going to meet the administrator and they're going to get to see a classroom and, just get those warm fuzzies all going and start building a relationship, because that's what it's all about. Learning's a big part about it, but relationship is also a big part about it. And we want to make sure that we get that relationship started between student, family, and school. I think I've hit on everything. Does Donna?
So let's take that date, because again, something our teachers have asked for.
Yes.
And I know Mrs. Kane, actually our principal at Brookhaven here this evening as well, and that is that opportunity on April 5th to meet their incoming students and begin to establish relationships. So on that day, as the board has done previously, but we haven't done this really since before COVID,
Yes.
and that is we cancel this year's kindergarten class for that one particular day. And those children don't come to school that day, but instead we have our newest little folks to come in. Again, this is at the teacher's request. They want to make sure they have their eyes on every student, be able to meet with the families. And although we do know 80 to 85% of them, there may be 20% that we don't know. And it's so important that we get that opportunity and our teachers get that opportunity to do that. So that is something we are, again, asking as a calendar adjustment, and we have done it every year up until COVID, and of course we set that aside as a day that we couldn't obviously do for many years. So that's where we are again this evening, and the process has really been refined with what Debbie does and what Susan does. Our Secretary Nancy Miller, who takes all of this information and makes it cohesive, shares it back at the school level. So there's a lot of hands involved to welcome our new families to Monongalia County Schools. And I would again say we're happy to have these numbers. We're still growing. But Debbie was probably a little modest in saying the one request that we see that no other district does experience, and that is we have lack of space, actually, for the numbers of children that we see. So the collaboratives, of course, that was something mandated by the Department of Health and Human Services, that they be able to enroll students, and certainly for us that has been a lifesaver. We simply don't have the physical space in our buildings to house very many more children. So one of the things I'll be coming to you later on, and we're again working closely with Debbie particularly in what we might want to advance in the way of pre-K and 3-year-olds. So that is something we're looking very deeply into, again at the request of our teachers, our school administrators, to make this experience for all children be the best possible experience that they can have. So I certainly want to thank these ladies for spearheading and making sure this goes well as an introduction to Mon County schools.
Board members, you have any questions of our guests?
So what are there's a lot of discussion in the legislature about vaccinations and all this other stuff. So I know it used to be for pre-K and kindergarten, there were some health requirements or screenings that were done. So could you just list those just so I feel up to date with that?
If you want to hit the immunizations, I can talk about the screenings.
The immunizations are the same for any new enterer into the school system, whether they be pre-K or whether they be K through 12. That changed about 5 or 6 years ago. Every student has to have at least one immunization in every series of DTaP, polio, measles, mumps and rubella, varicella, chickenpox, and hepatitis B, just to start school. Ideally, to start kindergarten, all of those childhood immunizations need to be up to date, but we will allow them to enter and attend school on a provisional enrollment if they're working on getting those immunizations, and the same with pre-K also. For kindergarten, we are also required to have screenings, which we are asking for. Every new enterer has to have a health check form or a well child visit, which can be a yearly physical form and a dental form. Students are not kept out of school if they do not provide that. But the screenings are supposed to be done by the well child check, and if they are not done, then the school nurses, the school audiologist, the speech pathologist will conduct that screening so that we meet those requirements put forth by the West Virginia Department of Education. Thank you.
If there is a family that is struggling to get the health checks, the hearing checks, the vision, we take care of that in our department. I have a health, safety, nutrition specialist who coordinates all of those screenings for Head Start children that must occur within the first 45 days of school. The family service specialists work very hard with the families. We go as far as if the parent wants us to help them make the appointment, we will do that. If they need transportation, my department can do that. It's a little bit of a challenge at preschool because a lot of families have never taken their children to the dentist. So getting that dental check, having the blood lead test, which should be done, I think, at around 2 years of age. Doctors don't always do that. So we work alongside the family to get that information. And if there is a screening, such as vision, hearing, blood pressure, height, weight, I think I covered them all. We do that.
We also have the SMILE program from WVU, that works in conjunction with WVU with the CHOMP program. The SMILE program is a mobile dentist that comes to the schools. The parents have to sign up for it, but they can have their dental exam done by them, and we'll accept that. And if restorative care needs to be done, then we work with WVU through the CHOMP program with Donna Walden, our dental hygienist, and we take them to WVU to get their restorative care done. Thank you.
Anything else?
Questions, board members?
Excuse me?
Said any other questions from the board members? Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that. So, Superintendent, before we move on, I'm gonna hit the bathroom.
Okay.
No, that's good.
She took the whole box.
I think you don't need them, do you?
It's that time of year.
Sorry, everybody. Yeah, I was trying to figure out what up here set me off that bad. Okay. Superintendent reports, discussion, and follow-up action.
All right, we do have two presentations this evening. In addition to that, and first up, we're going to have the Morgantown High School Foundation is going to talk to us about the Morgantown High School auditorium. So I know Mark Nesselrode's with us, and he's got some of his folks with him as well. So, Mark, I'll turn things over to you.
All right. Thank you all for having us. I have the pleasure of being the treasurer for the Morgantown High Foundation. The MHS Foundation was created in the mid-1990s. We're a nonprofit 501c3 charged with educational and charitable purposes to support Morgantown High School. We have some board members, Dr. Fred Gabriel and our president, Earl Strait, are handing out some histories of the MHS auditorium that our board member Jenny Secreto and I think some of the other faculty at MHS helped write to give you some perspective on the auditorium. So about 2 years ago, the foundation board identified the auditorium as a top priority for the high school. I'm sure many of you will remember in about 2008, for the next 6 or 8 years, the foundation helped facilitate the athletic facilities project. It was a $6 million renovation of the interior of the campus there where the stadium is. that was in conjunction with the Hazelwood McQueen Trust and the Board of Education, and then our foundation raised $2 million, so it was a $6 million project that was successfully completed several years ago. With the auditorium, we've identified it as a top goal, and it's also on the Board of Education's comprehensive educational facilities plan. So we came to the superintendent's office and said, hey, we really want to help with this. It's a treasure for the high school that's going unused. What can we do? So we worked with the administration and worked on a couple different options, and we're lucky enough to engage Mills Group. So Ryan Hess from Mills Group is here today, and he'll go through some of the slides with me to put together a preliminary plan. And then March Weston, I want to thank Hannah Payne and James Barvinchak, who donated their time and resources to help put a preliminary budget together for us to know what will it take to totally restore the auditorium back to an effective space. And also point out Principal Mahalko is here and very, very supportive of the project as well. Ryan, you're welcome to stand up here with me when we get to these slides. So the vision statement for the foundation is to effectively prepare MHS students to be successful in the rapidly changing world of the 21st century. We included faculty, administration, Board of Education, students, outside consultants in this process, and honestly, we're very excited to show you the results and what we've come up with and where we're at today. So you can see we're calling our future campaign, a stage of excellence, which is a play off Morgantown High School's slogan of a tradition of excellence. Morgantown High School opened in 1927. The auditorium wasn't completed until 1939 due to some funding issues, I believe, at the time. Notably enough, in 1940, Eleanor Roosevelt dedicated the auditorium. That's a picture of her leaving Hotel Morgan there downtown. In some of the writings of her visit, she basically stated that the auditorium is not only a student center, but also a meeting place for all members of the community. And that's somewhat of the approach we took with the mindset as well. As you all know, current enrollment at Morgantown High is 1,900 students, and it's recently been ranked by U.S. News and World Report as the #1 high school in West Virginia. So that tradition of excellence is very well stated. Here's some examples of some performances in the old auditorium or in the existing auditorium that's not being used. The slide there on the left, you'll see Don Knotts. I don't believe that's in an auditorium, but it's probably in the high school. Obviously a famous actor that came through those walls, and there's an old performance at the auditorium stage. You'll notice that that's a relatively recent picture, probably within the last 20 years or so, of part of the band on the stage. You'll notice how cramped they are. It's not the full band, obviously. We've come up with some solutions for that. Some distinguished alumni. These are notable actors and film folks that have come through as graduates of Morgantown High School and been through the auditorium. We've got Don Knotts and Lawrence Kasdan and David Selby, to name a few. Some additional distinguished alumni. These are all folks that are on the Distinguished Alumni Wall at Morgantown High School. So, not just actors and playwrights and musicians, but folks of all types, of all professions. So, issues with the current auditorium. I'm sure many of the board members and folks have been through it, but it's honestly, it's unusable. There's deferred maintenance. It's unsightly. Some of the biggest issues are that it's not ADA compliant. There's seating that's original to the auditorium, so it's, as you can imagine, well worn, broken, too small. I mean, people are a lot bigger than they were back in 1940. The lights are literally down to the last light bulb. There's no safe way to go up and change the lights, so once they are burnt out, it'll be totally dark. There's no restrooms on the stage level. There's no dressing rooms. The sound booth, the AV equipment, the rigging system, that they're all outdated, obsolete. not working properly. Some additional issues. It's been 18 years since the last true performance at the Morgantown High School auditorium. It gets used occasionally for practice here or there, but for liability reasons and functionality reasons, it cannot be used and is not being used. So in those 18 years, the Morgantown High School has rented the Metropolitan Theater downtown for a cost of about $15,000 annually. So that's $333,000 spent over the last 18 years renting other space, soundboard operators, backdrop rentals, those kinds of things. There's utility costs to keep those couple light bulbs on, keep it heated. A big issue with renting the Met is practice availability and just transporting the equipment back and forth from Morgantown High. You can imagine the logistical nightmare that is for band folks, for theater, drama folks, musicians, that kind of folks. We're at the scheduling mercy of the Metropolitan and other venues. The Met has less capacity than what the Morgantown High Auditorium could have. So those are the issues. I mean, stakeholders, this gets back to the quote by Eleanor Roosevelt. It's obviously Morgantown High School departments, Morgantown High School clubs and groups, but it's also Mon County schools. There's no reason that Morgantown High's auditorium can't be used by elementary schools, middle schools, tech folks, the city of Morgantown, Monongalia County. They could have, it could be a voting site. It could be all kinds of different purposes, debates, Boy Scout troops, Girl Scout troops, performing art, dance studios, piano recitals, you name it. Alumni get-togethers. The auditorium has a lot of potential uses. There's some current students standing outside the auditorium there, many of them which are hoping to graduate and someday be able to use the auditorium during their school tenure. I think that can probably be accomplished if we're quick on the fundraising process. Some additional opportunities for MHS in the community with a working auditorium. Those are all types of things that could happen. There's county spelling bees and math bowls and science bowls, and I know Principal Mahako would love to have group testing, in that area. The very last bullet point, it relieves scheduling stress on the gymnasiums. So Morgantown High School has 2 gymnasiums and up-teen number of sports, which is awesome. Sometimes there are graduations or plays or different things that have to occur in those gymnasiums that could otherwise happen at the auditorium to free up more gym time. So for those of you who haven't been in the auditorium recently, here we've taken some pictures and just want to show you the current state. This is probably the best picture of them all, but it gives you a good angle of the outdated seating and what the current conditions are. You'll see the couple light bulbs that are burning in the ceiling. The other lights in the ceiling are literally out. That's from the balcony level. That's also in the balcony, broken seats, storage, I don't know what, just a bunch of garbage not being used. So we have no catwalk to change those lights. You can see some of the plaster and paint that's been peeling and chipping away. Some up close photos of that, and they're all over the place. It's not just an isolated couple places. The flooring is missing. It's trip hazards. It's really not a safe alternative or place to use. Broken chairs. So enough of the bad stuff. Obviously, we were able to hire the Mills Group and really value their opinion because they are absolutely experts in renovating buildings with historical nature, which this auditorium definitely has. You can see the Mills Group quote at the bottom, designing on the principles of the past and preserving for the future. So I'll let Ryan go through some of the floor plans and sections and kind of give an overview of conceptually some of the preliminary things we've come up with as a team.
Thanks, Mark. Good evening, everybody. My name is Ryan Hess. I'm an architect and a principal for Mills Group. Our office building's on High Street. It's right behind that photograph of Eleanor Roosevelt and right across Deckers Creek from the school here. So moving forward here, when I speak of the team, I'm mentioning the design team of the architects, the historians, the interior designers that are part of Mills Group, but also the stakeholders that Mark was referencing. Every meeting that we had, every iteration of an idea consisted of, Paul being in the room with us, other stakeholders. We had students, and when our team kicked off this project, it was actually in the auditorium. Bill Gibson brought a technical class of students who were interested in STEM programs, particularly architecture or engineering, and there were no drawings of the existing space, so our team had to first start by scanning and getting data points and recreating the as-built, so there was a spot in which to move forward. Up on the screen right now is the final iteration of the concept, and consider all of this stage level. So although there's a sloped auditorium floor, let's consider all of this flat from the stage on the right side of the page all the way moving back to the area under the stage on the left. So we'll start with the stage. That's the reason that we're all here right now. Recall a photograph that Mark showed in a few slides earlier of the band on the stage. Shoulder room, elbow room, actually. And a lot of the feedback that we got was the stage wasn't large enough. At the same time, other feedback that had come through the stakeholders was that there was a desire for an orchestra pit. Well, both could not coexist at the same time without losing seats, and there's actually a break line of the sloped floor there too, where it's flat at the bottom. So the hatched area you see on the right side of the screen represents an addition to the stage, but it's temporary in manner. So that really think of it as scaffolding and temporary flooring that could expand the stage when needed. Would also be inclusive of an ADA compliant platform lift for those, again, performing, but beyond this, receiving award, et cetera, et cetera. But that in the event that a performance does not need that full-size band, a knee wall of some sort could be located there. That temporary flooring stage example would go away, and there could be an orchestra. It could be a pit, or it could be actually flat on the floor. There are a few options shown from a cost perspective that Mark will get into showing here too. All of the plans moving forward and renderings that you see do involve replacing 100% of the seats down at the auditorium level with newer seats, marginally wider, very similar to what was undertaken at the Met Theater as Mark mentioned. Everywhere you see a square within the seating arrangement, that's indication of an ADA compliant seat. So you can see some disbursement throughout that space. Currently at that auditorium level floor, there are no restrooms. What you'll see on the left side of this page will need to involve some excavation, but also back farther, under the mezzanine and under the main level, there are some voids and volumes that can be captured. So we are showing opportunities for compliant restrooms and additional fixtures, but also with a light lock such that if the restroom were to be utilized during an event or a program, light would not spill out into the space. All of that would be accomplished with a lift coming up to the main level. And then to highlight a few of the bullet points on the right in blue, certainly a long list of cosmetic items are on the list, as Mark mentioned. So quite simply, new paint, flooring, lighting, plaster work, seating, and trim. ADA restrooms down at the stage level. A new sound booth down at the level. Currently the sound booth is at the highest row on the upper mezzanine, and a lot of the feedback has been to get that down lower to be able to manage that sound more accurately. 27% increase to the stage, as I was mentioning at the start of this discussion, with the removable orchestra pit, accessible platform to get up on the stage, renovated dressing rooms. So the area below the stage is wide open, but primed for dressing rooms for the area. And the current floor seat count is 669. This revised, renovated plan drops the seat count to 549, and that's just due to incremental widening of all the seats, a loss of a few seats in order to infringe into the auditorium area with the light lock and the accessible entrances into the bathrooms. So up at the lobby level, which is really which would be the first phase of the project, the first impact both from a cosmetic standpoint and from a usability standpoint. We'll start immediately with new restrooms, a men's and women's restrooms in the same area, but a reconfiguration is going to be needed for ADA compliance. Certainly new, some plaster repair, new paint, new surfaces out there, and as Paul mentioned, the necessity of a weapons detector. The entrance to the front of the building is accessible. There is a ramp and railing there that's in compliance, but a lift, as you can see, right upon the main lobby entrance.
I think we envision this as in all the renovations. You'll see the pictures later capture the historic nature of it and preserve the historic nature of the auditorium, the colors, the feel, and so forth. But we envision this entering and seeing pictures and mementos of some of those folks that you saw come through as alumni in the past. Here's balcony level one.
Up at the balcony level, there's an increase in seats due to the loss of the existing sound booth being relocated down below. So also cosmetic upgrades, relocated sound booth, new seating, railing. So the current railing from the mezzanine down low is not high enough, so we would propose to either put some nondescript glass there or a railing of a thin profile for fall protection. A catwalk and access to the lighting, as Mark mentioned. This is not an easy space to maintain. It's a large volume. It's scaffolding, large ladders to just change simple light bulbs. So that's certainly in a plan for the future here as well. A cross section to really show this volume, as mentioned. And again, the current seat total is 1,150, and the proposed seat total drops to 1053, which is still a larger seat count than the Met Theater at approximately 880. So,
thanks, Ryan.
Yeah.
I think Ryan touched on all these. This is just a summary of what we went through in those last few slides. So these next few pictures are current conditions and what we call a stage of excellence, what we could achieve from the same viewpoints. So that's from the balcony level, from the balcony at an angle, on the other side of the room, from the stage looking out towards the audience in the balcony and the seating. So as you'll see, the projected colors, the feel, the atmosphere is all very similar to the period and meets contiguous with the theme of the school. It's really just an update. So renovations budget, things like this don't come cheap, but we believe the benefits and the efficiencies of a renovated auditorium will outweigh the costs of what we currently have. Monongalia County students, teachers, and citizens deserve the investment. As I mentioned, March Weston was able to project what the costs would be for these line items that were displayed through those floor plans, and did their best to estimate what they could. So the estimated total is about $4 million. We would like the foundation would like to launch a campaign, the Stage of Excellence campaign, to raise up to $2 million. And really the purpose of us, the ending purpose of us here tonight is to formally request a $2 million commitment from the Board of Education, matching donations that the foundation receives in hand, so not matching pledges. And we truly believe it would be well worth the Board of Education's investment. The Stage of Excellence campaign: restore the auditorium, maintain its historical nature, celebrate the storied past and distinguished alumni, obviously save and repurpose operating funds that are being used to, at the Met, or to keep the utilities on at the existing auditorium. It'll relieve scheduling stress on the gymnasiums. We'll be able to use a fundamentally critical asset. It'll benefit not only the students, faculty, alumni, but also the community, and it'll continue MHS's tradition of excellence. So with that, we can answer any questions, but our goal tonight, it really is to get that funding commitment. We believe it's a critical need for us when we're approaching donors and alumni and charitable foundations and requesting money from folks that they know that the county, once we have that $4 million in hand, will move the auditorium up on the comprehensive plan list, and obviously has skin in the game and so forth. But we believe we need that commitment before we can start our campaign and ask others to commit.
Okay, board members?
I just had a comment on when you were talking about the community and the schools using it. As most people know, I'm a UHS graduate. My wife was an MHS graduate, but in elementary school, they used our field trips. We would come over to that auditorium and watch the plays and so forth. And so we were always, anxious to get involved in that. And then, like I said, as my wife being in that school, I'd been through that auditorium several times. And then when you talk about restoration, in the back were all the names where they're written on the wall. I'm assuming that will somehow try to be preserved and taken care of. Yeah. And the seats that are in there now, so the historical value of those, you won't be able to use any of those, or
The plan is to use the existing types of those existing seats, as many as we can, in the balcony. Okay. But all the stage level seats would be all brand new.
Because unfortunately, they were very uncomfortable. Yes. I hate to say it. The historical seats are very uncomfortable. When we use this facility, and when the school used this facility for drama and other things, one of the biggest challenges, other than the obvious ADA things, because we did try to put the lift and some different things in there, were the restrooms. There were not enough restrooms, and there used to be a lot of hullabaloo because we could never, it just did not function well. So with that question, I'm wondering, will the restroom renovations be enough? I mean, and I know space is limited, and I know there's not much you can work with, but that was always one of the biggest complaints about that facility. Because unfortunately, I've been on the board long enough to have gone through a renovation several years ago, and at that time, that was a big concern for everyone that participated there. So I didn't know, is there any other potential space to enlarge the restroom area? Because if you're going to have 1,000 people in there, and there's 4 restroom facilities available on each side, then, it's just not enough. And I didn't know if there was any way to access it to a different, even a different section of the school that's closed or something else. But I know that was one of the biggest drawbacks of this facility. And my other question was, how are you going to be able to get new seats in there? Because I remember there was an effort at one time to try to get more seats in there and replace the ones that were broken. but at that time, the push was you had to have exactly the same kind of seats, which of course they don't make anymore. So everything that you're doing is spam. The South Park Neighborhood Association and all those people are fine with it, because that was a big challenge before when we tried to do some things in that area. So I didn't know if that group had been in there and what they had to say about it, because that was part of our challenge when we did it probably was the 5th renovation that's been there, but at that time, that was a big challenge. So are these seats approved to be replacements by some historical group, or how did that all work out?
I know the high school and the auditorium are in a historic district, but to my knowledge, it's not a historic building. So
Okay.
I don't personally know of any, I mean, I'm not an architect or an engineer or a code person, but I don't know of any restrictions on requiring
Okay.
the same seats.
I just know that the people that were really interested in that facility at that time, they wanted everything to be original, or a remake of the original. And as we even discussed before the meeting, I said, people aren't built the same, those seats are ungainly, uncomfortable, and, I just didn't know how all that, so because it doesn't have the plaque on the front of the building, you have to just meet the character of the historical.
It's
Okay.
a contributing structure. The seating consultant that was engaged for the plan and layout here is the same we use for Carnegie Hall in Lewisburg, the Met Theater in downtown Morgantown, which underwent a very similar exercise of replacing small seats with something that's larger. To speak directly to your point on maintaining existing seats, that was the design effort.
So it'd be recorded.
It's recorded for them.
The design effort of remaining existing wooden seats in the upper mezzanine. Now, in the whole auditorium, probably 70% of them are usable or have more life in them. So that thought was to put all of them up in the upper level, still retaining that historic character, and then creating a newer, slightly different seat. Now, the intent is to have similar profiles, similar materials to be used. So at this point, the project is still very conceptual. There's been no construction documents. Mark may be able to speak to the South Park Neighborhood Association, but tonight is one of the first events that this project has been made public, or has come out for that ask.
So this is the unveiling?
Yes.
The public unveiling. So my other question would be, how long is this going to take? Because as you request funding, I'm curious as to how, if we could do it over a period of years. I guess that's my question. Is this a project that can be staged in some way so that, as you all know, the superintendent will be creating a budget and treasurer and reviewing everything, and there's a lot of competing interests for funding, even though I think this is an important project, and I think we all realize that. So I didn't know if there was any way things could be done in stages so that everything wouldn't have to come out of one year's budget. I don't know how you plan to move forward.
Anything's possible. I don't know how long the campaign will happen or take. I would think we'd need at least a year to get everything done and do it right, and to not be tripping over ourselves or have a half-baked project and not raise enough funds in the future. And costs are going to increase over time, obviously. So if you do a phase and then you're waiting a couple more years for funding, well, it's all obviously going to get more expensive. Our goal right now, and I believe is the wish of the superintendent's office too, is to be able to get it all done at once, so we can, I don't want to say be done with it, but get it to where it truly
You're
needs
never
to be
done
and
with
deserves.
Morgantown High School. I will just tell you this. That's from experience. We are never done. Just because it's a different kind of building to work with.
I think phasing it will end up with more costs, and
Okay.
we'll run the risk of truly not achieving what needs to get done.
So
Make
you're
it truly
thinking, what,
functional.
2 years? This would be, you'll spend a year fundraising and then construction would be planned out and be the next year? Is
I think
that
that's a logical
realistically
goal,
what
sure.
how you're projecting it?
Yeah, I mean,
Because
of
it
course,
took how long to raise the money for the athletic facility? That's what I was trying to think.
I mean, the athletic facility was done in a few phases.
Yes.
That was probably a 10-year project from start to finish. Maybe not that long, maybe 8
I'll
years,
say,
I was going to say, I
six
don't
or
think it
6 or 7 years.
the matching funds was,
So the budget was 4 million total, and that
Yep.
was 2 and 2.
Correct.
You were looking- Okay, because somebody said $4 million donations, and I was thinking, I don't think that's the way I heard it, so it's 2 and 2.
2 and 2
commitment.
is the request, yeah. To answer the questions about the restrooms, I've not done the fixture count. I mean, in emergencies, I mean, you can see the steps at the bottom of the stage that are outside. They do go into the science wing of the high school where there's restrooms.
Right. I was gonna make that comment.
But
And I didn't know if there were plans. Are you finished?
No, I mean, no, dovetail right into this, because that was the
I didn't know how
biggest
many more
complaint
questions you
about
had.
that
She'll be
building.
back for more.
No, I'm done after that, but I just know
Well, I
that
didn't
was
know if
the,
there were
That was
plans
probably one
to
of the biggest
connect
costs,
it
though,
directly
is-
to the school, so you would have access to those restrooms and more space for students to prepare and
Yeah,
for
great point.
performances.
That's all contiguous. Really, we settled that as being an operational decision by the high school. The restrooms shown on the screen are minimal. You can tell it's
Correct.
maximizing the bowels of this building to create these restrooms to provide, maximum fixture count that could be afforded within this footprint.
Right. How far are you on fundraising? Have you raised money yet? Have you started, or?
we're truly waiting for the.
Oh, you're waiting for us?
Sweet.
no, he said he's waiting on you.
personally.
That's a quote.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's really, I mean, you haven't started yet?
No, I mean, we have a little bit in our pocket. We had a random donor a couple years ago donate for the auditorium purposes before this was even conceptualized, but
Right.
nothing to speak of meaningfully.
And our partnership with Morgantown High Foundation has always been, the money's been in hand before any building has really started. I mean, that has always been
Right.
the way you guys operate, which has worked out for the best.
You
Ryan,
mentioned-
what would be an ideal number of bathrooms for that crowd? That's going to be the question. We're probably not going to want to go into this project. At least one of us don't, and come out with a bunch of mad people because at break time there was a 30-minute line to go to the bathroom. Have you done that research on this number of people in an auditorium and what size restrooms would be ideal?
Yeah, great question, Ron. We have. I don't have those numbers with me tonight. These are not meeting that amount. It's in the 10 to 15 fixture count per gender. If the school can program and utilize some space down the hallway, we might be able to get closer to achieve that number.
I think that needs to be part of our research. I think that really needs to be part of the research here.
And then put the gates up.
I'm thinking underneath the sidewalks in the front of the building. There's even more room out that way. But I don't know this. I've not really went over there and analyzed the structure, but there's definitely space in that area.
Oh, yes.
So it's just more money to get to those spaces. So I think we really need to look at this a little bit more responsibly, as far as, I don't want to say you guys did this irresponsible. I didn't mean that way. But as far as making sure it's done correctly. If we're going to do it, let's go ahead and do it right.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the challenges with fitting more restrooms in there that exist, is there a laser?
Yeah, but I don't think it works on the screen.
I'll walk right over here. Yeah.
No, because she can't design or develop.
This is a landing of the auditorium, the upper landing, and then the lower landing. You can see a lightweight line representing the slope. So the slope is from here to here. So this restroom space really wasn't able to continue or fringe out here beyond this landing. So that's what's really pinning this end over here.
that 5 total, or is there some on the other side?
That's
That-
the men.
So in the mid at the top of the screen,
Sorry, the thing's kind of.
there are 2 toilets and 2 urinals, so 6. There'd be 7 above it on the main level. Down here in the women's restroom, be 6. There'd be 8 toilet fixtures plus 9 upstairs. There are restroom opportunities for the base of the underneath the stage, which would be the locker rooms. Certainly that would just take care of any and all the performers, not the general public.
Those are in there now? I was gonna ask that question. Are there restrooms in the performer area now, or it's proposed?
One, proposed.
Okay.
Right now, there's a toilet down there. No one's going to use it.
Okay.
And on the other one, there was a toilet, and it's
I have to
walked
say,
away somewhere.
I was a parent of a child that performed on this stage, and she never said anything about the bathroom. I never asked. I never went backstage. But, and as far as South Park, I'm a South Park neighbor, and I would think they would be thrilled to have that updated and usable, and the seats be more comfortable. Parents, neighbors, community members, I don't know why they would want the old hard chairs.
I won't belabor the point about restrooms, but one of the things we talked about was putting awnings over both of the walkways that go back into the science wing, that cut out from the auditorium. So if we're talking about an intermission where there would be lines, if we were able to do something like that, which would be a lot more minimal of a cost than figuring out how to dig up some more dirt and things like that, you would have access to, just in the science wing, another female restroom and another male restroom, 2 locker rooms, actually 5 locker rooms, that are all within a quick walking distance, that if we did that in intermission, you would have more than enough to meet the need of that space right there. There would be, and the one side already has a ramp, so we already talked about that too, so that they would all be ADA compliant as well. So behind there, even though the wall can't be moved to make more restrooms, there's already probably enough space built in as far as restrooms are concerned.
I hope it works out pretty well, because I think we had a meeting down there in 2006 or something. We took our meeting there and we were talking about, that's how long ago we've been discussing this, and before.
And before.
Yeah, so I guess I'll leave it, if we can get that commitment from the Board of Education tonight, we're ready to start the fundraising campaign as soon as possible.
Well, I can tell you that as I look at my agenda, we have a discussion and presentation on our agenda, so we cannot legally give you any kind of a go-ahead on fundraising at this point until our next meeting. It would have to be an action item. I guess because somebody could come and speak against it. I mean, it's our aforementioned neighborhood association, we need to give them the opportunity to do that. As much as we can be excited about this project at this point, we can't legally do that according to what's posted. So we're going to have the superintendent and the administration continue to work on this, and 2 weeks from now we have a board meeting. I think 2 weeks.
Definitely appreciate your consideration, and happy to be back.
Our next board meeting is
March 13th.
March 13th. So it's not, it's in no way reflects the support or non-support of the board. It's just a matter of policy. So.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you. Thanks for all your work.
Very efficient.
Very good.
Yes. I just want to say one more thing. I was glad to see that Morgantown High is back as #1 for U.S. News and World Report. Does anybody here know how that is determined?
I know why it happened.
I know the answer.
That's why. Somebody has to lead.
Right.
He knew where all the bathrooms were.
Advanced placement drives that number.
So let's keep the commitment going.
All right. At this point, we're going to move on, Superintendent, to the Renaissance Academy update, and I'm not sure.
Just a couple items. I know.
If you guys sneak out, we will not be offended as we start on our business.
I know our deputy superintendent wants to share a couple more schedules with you. And then
Thanks.
we just wanted to update the board on our activities since the last board meeting. So I'll let Donna go first,
Okay.
and then I'll finish up with what we've been working on.
You guys can leave that if you want.
There's two here.
It wouldn't be a bad idea.
Okay, this is just a quick update, and since you have had the presentations of students at the last two meetings, and they, again, imagine that these are students that do not exist now, but they certainly could. And this evening, we have one more student that we wanted to showcase, and also one of our teachers that we would like to showcase. So I'm just going to go over this quickly, but I think we have them to project here, just so you can look at them. But this is Jordan. Let me introduce you to Jordan. Jordan is a Clay Patel student, and Jordan is a 12th grader. Now, Jordan has chosen a pathway of becoming an educator, following in the footsteps of so many of the educators that Jordan has respected and had a chance to work with in their school career. So there is really 2 pages to that, and it really does showcase the 2 days at Clay Patel, and again 3 days in this particular schedule to attend the Renaissance Academy. So you can see the courses, and all of us are familiar with the courses that might be available or are available at all of our high schools. English 12, civics, math, and again a course there, actually college level, on human development, learning, and teaching, which is a course that a promising educator would take and participate in. So those would be repeated again on the Tuesday, Thursday schedule. Please don't hold me to the times, because times change, and that's just there because this is a cute little way to showcase during a planner, but the times are not indicative of what we would do here. Then again, if you flip to the Renaissance schedule here, this is where it gets really exciting. Students arriving again, and don't hold me to these times, but arriving and having breakfast just like they would, of course, at Clay Patel. But this is an opportunity on Monday, and really different events on Wednesday and Friday. But looking at a lesson, as any good teacher does, looking at the lesson, analyzing their data to determine where their students are and how to focus. So then they would depart for a school opportunity to be much like a teacher's assistant at the college level. So this person would then work at, in this particular case, we might say Milan Park Elementary, but again, we could choose another school if we decided, and they would actually be on the job again as an intern, much like our Med Ed interns and all of the others that we now have in place, Farm Tech interns and many others that we support at the current tech center. And then in this particular case, they would come over to the Board of Education, where they would participate in, for example, if it were this year, the adoption of the new math series for Monongalia County Schools. So we always have great teacher representation, and they're the ones who make the final selection on what that adoption of instructional materials would look like. Then on Wednesday, as you can see here, they would meet with their peers. Again, looking and planning for an event that would occur at their assigned elementary school, in this case Milan Park, and they're planning a STEM night. And that STEM night would involve a lot of collaborations from within the Renaissance, culinary, auto technology, and the business program. So they would meet with their peers, other students who are planning to follow the educator track. Again, they would go back to Milan Park, serve their time there as an actual teacher's assistant, You could equate that to a student-teacher format as well, and then again depart. On Friday, this is again slightly different. This is where they work on many of the essentials that you need to be a professional, developing their portfolio, completing completing applications for college scholarships, and to do all the trainings that every teacher has to participate in order to become the professional that they are. So again, they would have an opportunity to work at Milan Park as a paid intern. So you look at some of the stacked credentials. Those are just examples of a very few that they would have in the pathway that CTE offers under the Future Educator pathway to be a completer. So they would have a field experience, obviously with Milan Park. They would have training through their essentials for understanding disabilities in contemporary classrooms. And again, they would have achieved a portfolio because they would have participated in how to develop a portfolio to showcase who they are. Credentials, easily, Google Workspace, certainly background checking. There are all of the essentials trainings that are required here, and also through the Tech Ed program, the OSHA certification. So what could they do? They could be an elementary school teacher after they've achieved this. They could pursue working as an academic coach, a curriculum specialist. They could venture out into educational consulting. They could decide to go through school administration. They could also be a grant writer for all of the many opportunities that are out there for us that we're trying to pursue right now because there are a myriad of them, and it's a skill that our teachers and many of the folks want to add to their own portfolio. So that's Jordan as Jordan works toward achieving the possibility of a career. Now, obviously, there'd be further education here. This is not going to prepare you to be a teacher. You're not going to walk out of 12th grade and become a teacher. There are many more credentials required, just like we saw with Med Ed. You're not going to walk out of Med Ed and become a doctor or a nurse, but I heard President Lytle talk about his daughter and the fact that, you know, some of the credentials that she could have earned while being in high school maybe would have given her a few less steps in her quest to further her education. So we wanted you to meet Jordan as just one example of one more student that could, again, work at any of our high schools and then participate both at their high school and certainly at the Renaissance Academy. So that's Jordan. And then I think one of the questions that has been prominent for us in the world of not only what it looks like for our students, but what it would look like for a teacher. So meet Rachel Thorne. Now, Rachel doesn't currently exist in our list of employees, but she very well could. I actually see Rachel Thorne as a hybrid of a couple of teachers that we have right now that do similar things. So this is what Rachel's schedule may look like. It's one page, but this is what she may do. You know that we have odd and even days, so as Mr. DeSantis reminded me, it really is a 2-week schedule that you look at as a teacher. It's not just 1 week, and I know there were questions about were we providing enough math instruction on one of our students, but we have to remember that would be a full 2-week opportunity for students to gain all of their math credits. So right here you can see, and this could be, Rachel happens to be placed just for this purpose at UHS, working at UHS, and again, as you can see, she would spend 2 days at UHS and 2 days at the Renaissance Academy. Again, if she were taking classes at UHS or any of our high schools, she would take be teaching, not take, she'd be teaching AP Computer Science. She would have time for her advisory and personalized learning time. She would also be teaching AP Computer Science principles, AP Statistics, and have time for her math PLC. So that's what her 2 days at UHS or any of the high schools would look like. When she was at the Renaissance Academy, she would meet much as colleges do with their advisor. And that advisee check-in is a really important time for her to check in with the students that she's working with. And actually, they are working to create an app. And this app is for their bistro. And being able to use that app, much like you do at some of the other fast food restaurants perhaps, or anywhere, so many things are now. And so they would group up at their huddle space, come together with her students to work with them on the creation of that. She'd be co-teaching. This is the stuff that's exciting as far as I'm concerned, getting that opportunity to co-teach with the tech computer program that would already be on site at the Renaissance, have her own lunch at the bistro, and then again, this is the one of the very cool parts, is really to be embedded with so many of the other programs that are there, and that is the information technology program that we have, the automotive program, the aviation program, the architecture, the construction program. So this math is so critical to all of those programs, and she'd have the opportunity to collaborate with those teachers and do what I call a teacher extraordinaire. And that's what I called her actually here. When she finishes all of these things and she does all of these things, she truly is an extraordinary teacher, of which we have so many of. But then you look at week 1 and week 2 just to make sure that you're seeing the full picture of what that teacher's schedule might look like. Again, this is not written in any way as a final schedule for anyone. It is a sample of one possibility of what it could look like for a teacher. I think as a teacher myself, this is beyond exciting to be able to work with other professionals, to be able to bring my expertise to the table to work with students. So I'm not going to read this all to you. You can see it here. And again, this teacher's very active, and you can see some of the other things that she does with student council, Mu Alpha Theta, and the HISTA programming. So again, just a snapshot of what a possible teacher schedule could look like as we blend these individuals, and again, a fluid schedule for the high schools and the Renaissance Academy. I'll try to answer any questions if you have them, but again, all of this is a beginning process, which will need to involve a lot more individuals as it comes to fruition here.
I really like these, but as we are moving forward, I'm hopeful that these kind of presentations will be done at the LSIC, will be done at staff meetings, so that our teachers and families can understand what the concept of this facility is, because I think that is still murky for a lot of people. So,
I think that's an excellent transition
Yes.
to what I wanted to share
Yes.
with you. You read my mind, because we are actually taking this out on our road show or tour, if you want to call it that. Since our last, and we're sharing exactly what you saw tonight. So we are sharing this with the groups that we're meeting with, and so and we're sharing information as to where to find this information as well. But since our last meeting, I have had the opportunity to speak with the University High School LSIC and share all of this information. I have met and shared the information with the Morgantown Area Partnership. Had a great reception there. I've met with the Cheat Lake PTO. I've met with the Eastwood PTO. Last night, President Lytle and I visited Clay Battelle and met there for an hour and a half with their community. We have also held a bond committee meeting last week. I had the chance to speak on Talk of the Town again on WAJR about the Renaissance Academy. I had a chance to meet with Dr. Gee and his staff on Monday of this week to talk about our progress. And then today, Board Member Haggerty and President Lytle and I met with the editorial board at the Dominion Post for close to 2 hours to talk about the Renaissance Academy and share all of these things. And so one of the things that we're bringing back from all of these presentations and these meetings are a list of questions that are coming up in the meetings. And then Teresa and I have the opportunity to sit down, and we're updating our frequently asked questions routinely. So I come back, we share the questions, gives her the opportunity to update those and get those posted so that we can push those out as quickly as we need to get those out. So it really is an ongoing effort. I have several other things on my schedule this week and into next week. And that will continue right up until Election Day. So I believe I have a date with the Rotary coming up. Is that this week, Teresa? Yes, thank you. But they're having a big, all-encompassing Rotary meeting, and so they've invited me to come to that. So lots of opportunities to share the information and continuing to update all the information that we're pushing out. So we just wanted to share those activities with the board. And again, if there's organizations or meetings that you know about that want to hear us come speak, please let us know, and we'll get those on our calendar as well.
And Dr. Campbell, if I may add in what we do have planned, to bring all of our high school teachers together.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
April 19th, it's a professional learning day. We actually have two opportunities, and we've already filled all the seats for a second bus tour to Academies of Loudon from the two high schools. I haven't yet heard from Clay Patel, but I'm sure they'll be on board, as well as offering that to other teachers in the system who are interested, but we didn't have enough capacity with the first trip. So there will be another road trip if anyone wants to go twice as well. Another
When is
road
that?
trip on the 19th. And there will also be, on that day, the opportunity for professional development. We're holding a symposium for all high school teachers, and it will be an opportunity to learn and lead within the confines of what this looks like. So we have a panel put together. All high school teachers will be there with us from 9:30 to about 11:30. And they will, again, have the opportunity to ask questions, but most importantly to hear not only from Dr. Campbell, but the original principal from Cherry Creek, which is in Colorado, and we did visit, and she has confirmed with us, Teresa and I, to be there because, again, she knows how to start one of the school that really is the one that we might most resemble here when we come to completion. She'll be on the panel. Certainly DLR and the presentations that we've had, which not everyone has taken advantage of or had time to go and see. So our presentations that DLR has made, the flyby, some of the student schedules, the teacher schedules, will be part of that symposium. Again, we will certainly have time for questions, and we also hope to have a version of an economic forecast. I've worked with John Deskins from WVU on other occasions. We may, if he's available, be able to bring him in to talk about how very, very critical it is to the economy in Monongalia County to support the next generation of learners. And finally, an industry partner that will be there as an advocate for looking at what their role will be, because they'll be so very much involved as our teachers will be. So our teachers will be working with these industry partners. And so when people ask questions about how are you going to staff it, Well, there'll be industry partners there alongside some of the teachers. So it's not hiring a whole new staff. And again, teachers that choose to be in this situation will have that opportunity. No one's going to be forced to do this. This will be an opportunity for selected ones who want to do this. So again, that's the presentation for the 19th. I know that Dr. Campbell also, and so I don't want to speak, and I'll let him speak to that, there's another series on April 12th, Dr. Campbell, that you are spearheading with individuals that you might want to let the board know. And I know that's from 3 to 4 at South Auditorium. What we're doing is from 9:30 to 11:30, and then again hoping to have some teachers that want to stay around for a light lunch with Sarah, the principal, and others of us who will be there and available to just have more informal conversations, to debrief. And sometimes it's a little scary to ask a question in a large group, but not so much at a smaller table with other colleagues there, to make sure your questions are answered and that you do have a full understanding. So I know, Dr. Campbell, if you want to speak to the 12th, I know that is something that you've worked on quite diligently. So I just wanted to share that those are things that I know that are coming up on the horizon.
And thank you, Donna. So on the 12th, we're planning to do a panel interview that will be live streamed to our community, as we do with our board meetings. We are going to include industry partners, including the WVU hospital system, as well as one or two other industry partners from the community here in Morgantown, along with myself, and then a member of the DLR group as well. And so that will be preserved in addition to the live stream, and we will be able to push that out using our social media, what other avenues that we have that would be permissible for us to put that out, with the idea of being able to take community questions at that event and be able to answer those in a live format. Again, that'll be, we're going to do that at South. That's on the 12th, and we're going to do that from 3 to 4 p.m.
You'll send something out to us on these dates?
Yes, we'll get all the dates to you. We'll probably include it in your Friday update so that you'll have all that information available to you.
So, are you going to invite or try to create some kind of, I'm even thinking FaceTime, of this tour of the 19th for the business community? I think if there or people in the community that are interested in what this is going to look like. I mean, I understand why we're focusing on our staff, because a lot of our teachers have the capacity to be able to create excitement about what this can do. But I think there are business leaders, or I don't know who all attended your committee meeting, or quite honestly, a lot of business people can't go to a committee meeting in the daytime, and I know previously a lot of our committee meetings were in the evening. So I don't know. I think it's harder for people that aren't in the school community all the time to conceptualize this facility more so than Dan.
I caught you.
And so, to try to conceptualize this stuff. And I think there's already people who've had it in their mind, well, they're not going to be for this because they don't know what it is. But I keep thinking if we have some business leaders that if they could see it somehow in a different way, not through the DLR pictures, but through a building that's already constructed, and that's why I guess I'm saying FaceTime or filming or something. I mean, I can understand if someone can't give a whole day up to drive over to Loudon.
Sure.
But there's got to be another way to try to get our community informed and excited about this, because we're going to need a lot of individual votes of support for this to go. And I think all of us have probably been approached by people who still just aren't sure. Some that already have in their mind, well, it's just another tax because they've looked at their tax ticket, which unfortunately has mandated stuff on it that we didn't do. There's got to be a way to reach out to the broader community, and that is not happened yet.
Well, I do know at our committee meeting, one of the things that the MAP leadership offered to us was to have a video produced by the Morgantown Area Partnership.
Okay.
That would include local industry partners who are supportive and do understand the concept and have been part of the stakeholder groups and can speak to the importance and the value for that. And then obviously they, in conjunction with the production of that, they are planning to share that with the partnership community through the avenues that they have to share those information. So we're really excited about that and being able to partner with them in sharing that. So I don't know what that production's going to look like.
Are they going to go over with you on the 19th, or what are they? How are they? Well, because I know the MAP dinner is what, April 4th.
Right. We haven't had the actual conversation with them as to what the production will entail outside of some general ideas. And so we have another meeting scheduled with them this week, right? Thursday? Yeah, Thursday.
Yeah, because election day is very close. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
And so we'll get into more detail with them as well as to what that looks like. They're generating some great ideas in the first meeting that we had. The group is very willing, and it's a very capable group of really doing the work that needs to be done. And frankly speaking, we asked them whether they wanted to meet at night or we wanted to meet in the morning. They want to meet in the mornings. So I'm trying to accommodate the people that have volunteered to work by keeping those meetings in the morning. It starts their day as part of their work day. I mean, this day and age, it's very difficult to get people to attend any type of evening meetings. But this group is really very supportive, very active, and very willing to engage with us and to support anything we need, either financially or by way of sharing the information out to the community. So we got off to a good start with them, and
they're
I think that's going to
far-reaching.
get
They
better.
have a lot of different fingers that they can reach out and get that
And
information out.
I've actually scheduled multiple meetings off of that first meeting with members of the committee who have said, I would like you to speak to. And we've scheduled those meetings. So it
Yeah, they're
as
no
you
longer
said,
just a chamber of commerce. They're really branched out.
so.
Yeah, I had the opportunity. I sat down with David Goldberg with Mon Health, and just to ask him, just to let him talk about what he sees as a potential here. And after we talked for a while back and forth, I was kind of trying to fill him out because being the leader he is, what did he see? And one thing he did, he talked about the fact that we get the innovation leaders that are in our medical community behind this, and they are behind it already on the Mon Health side. There's a lot of people over there doing a lot of good work in medical innovations. He also offered to help us with connections because we're, the fundraising part of this and moving forward and trying to get the support. He offered to give us that. He also offered to, and it was a really good idea, to have a business leaders rally for this thing. Obviously, we can't host that as a school board, but just kind of like I want to say like a business after hours, but instead of me going to a business after hours and trying to mingle and find a couple people to talk to, the business after hours would be focused specifically on the Renaissance Academy, and it would be a pretty good social event and just to get the information out there. And he also offered the Montauk. which I think that's what it's called, as an opportunity for you to go on with him and or you know our staff, just to talk about how this facility can impact healthcare in our community and the good things that's going to be. So, you know, radio time, and I know Dr. Warden's on there now, and I know that's a really good program going on. So, you know, for them to be offering their radio time for this facility it speaks volumes on how much they're behind this facility. So
I'm hoping that they and WVU and some of our other community banking partners and all that will let it do the billboards, because I know that was a big thing for the excess levy and also for the other bond, was to have that out there.
I think when we have the business leaders meetings, you said the 12th, when you're going to have that would be a pretty good invite for Mon Health to be here with WVU at the same time. So I think that would be a good. You'd have two healthcare providers, but really that's the biggest industry we have around here outside of education. But so anyhow, anybody else have any Renaissance Academy information? It's starting to get exciting. I'm starting to think that we're getting out there, and I will say that Dr. Campbell's presentation to Clay Battelle last night was spot on. He's practiced a couple times. 'Cause no notes and didn't miss a beat. Just kept going right through the vision and the everything that we need to have out there. So it was a really good representation of the effort that's gone forward out there last night.
Is there a plan to present to middle and elementary?
Yes, they're all going to be scheduled.
Okay.
Yeah. They're feeding us when their LSIC meetings are, their PTO meetings are, and then So I've finished with the high schools. If there are any other opportunities that they'd like to present for us to come and talk, they'll let us know that too. But we're going to get in front of everybody is really what our goal is. Everybody meaning all the schools.
And everyone else.
And everyone.
If anybody wants to listen.
Yeah. Like I said, last night was a lot of people come to that meeting with the intention of trying to complain and have something negative to say. There were several of them there, and after that presentation, it was like, you know, a lot of them was like, how can I not be behind this? It was a really, really well done presentation, very thorough, and it really outlined everything we needed to do. So let's do some contracts.
All right, we have two new contracts for you tonight, board members. The first is item A. This is the Marshall University Autism Training Center Memorandum of Understanding. Superintendent recommends that the board approve the MOU as presented in your executive content.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Besides that agreement on the first line caught my attention. I don't know if it's spelled right. It might be. I might just be. The only reason I notice it's underlined. But any questions or comments? All right, hearing none. All in favor of the Marshall University Autism Training Center MOU as presented signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same.
The second contract for you this evening is item B. This is with Aptigee. Superintendent recommends that the board approve the contract as presented this evening.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
So what is this replacing?
Chris and Teresa, do you want to kind of update the board on what we're doing here? This is going to be our new platform for our website. And bigger than that, but
Sure.
basically it's our website, but with
Yes,
some other things.
so after the last few years, we have had opportunity to see what works well with our website, and what we have discovered is the current vendor, we do not have the appropriate customer service that we would like to have. None of their customer service is on the phone or Zoom or anything like that. You have to email them. So that, basically had us search for a better product, and this is what we came up with. And I think, 48 of the counties are already using Aptigee. So we have lots of good feedback. They have a one-stop shop as far as messaging. It's called ThrillShare, and you can basically, on the website, you can put out the message. In addition to push it out to social media, they also have voice messaging. So that's going to replace our school messenger as well. So we've done a lot of research on it. Chris is on board. Believe me, I don't think I've launched a lot of websites in my career. It's not my favorite thing to do. So if we could keep the one that we are currently using, it would be ideal. But, we have to definitely do what's best for the system, the schools, the web contacts, and of course the families. So.
How's it line up cost-wise?
So
More expensive? I knew I'd get you up there talking.
It's going to be more expensive the first year, because the first year they're doing, setting everything up. So not only the county webpage, every school's webpage, not only an app for the county, but an app for every school. It's going to set up the school messenger, the call, the email, and the text. It's going to set that up, so that'll be all new. It replaces, who's our website? Final Site. It replaces Final Site and it replaces School Messenger. Those two together add up to $37,000 plus a little bit. After the first year, because the first year is going to include an additional, I think it's $19,000 because of all the setup that is involved. So second year cost is $42,900. So it's only a difference of $5,800. And honestly, we had School Point, and then when Teresa came, School Point was purchased by Final Site, so we did not have much of a choice. Final Site is going to go up in price. When I looked at websites probably 9 years ago, Final Site was actually the most expensive. And so we are in under the School Point, which is the one we had right before the one we have now. We're under their price right now, and I predict that Final Site's going to jack this up. So I honestly, with the difference only being $5,800, this is a win-win. We're going to get just bang for the buck as far as of everything that we get.
And that price per year is locked in for the next 3 years if we so choose to continue with it.
That was going to be my question, because when I was looking at it, it looked like 15,000 as opposed to 19, but I'll go with your number. But that's what I was going to ask about the renewal.
Yeah, we do give a little discount there.
Yeah, and so that's the annual if renewed, and it's got a little asterisk that's subject to the 5% increase. So if we, every year, is that an automatic lock-in if we choose to take it, or?
I don't think so, but it does say in there at least for the next year, so.
Right.
It's hard to tell what they'll do.
I know, I was reading down through this, I thought this kind of,
It's a little murky.
yeah, murky, but yeah, if it's better than what we have, then I'm all for that.
Speaking of murky, the payment schedule, I don't like the fact that there's 258.4s in a payment schedule. As I read that, there's a total of the above is 58.4, and then billed after signature 58.4. It's twice on the payment schedule. I understand it's 58.4 is the setup and the 1 year
First annual.
minus the $4,000 discount is 58.4, but it says 58.4, and then it says 58.4 again on a payment schedule. It should only be once on that payment schedule.
It is
So we
only
need to
once.
make sure for clarification, I read this and I see I believe what the intention is.
Yeah.
But it's 58.4 and then 58.4. When I read it the first time, I was like, that's a lot of money, but, you know, I was
But that
wondering.
4,000's by the 29th? Something like
I don't
that.
even know.
There's a date, the April 29th, February? I thought that date was on there.
February 29th, very good after, huh? Yeah, but I don't like the fact that the payment schedule reflects the same payment, even though it's redundant. It is a payment on a schedule. That's caught my attention when I looked through this. So, just for clarification, 58.4 is set up in first year.
Yes.
42.9 is annual after that.
Yes,
And that's what we're
For
going
two
to
additional
approve
years.
as a board.
yes.
It is 29th of February, so yeah, we better.
I saw that, and I mean, you said murky, I was thinking, boy, that's a good word. So, anyhow, all right, any other questions or comments, board members? Hearing none, all in favor of the Apogee contract as presented, signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Superintendent, consent agenda.
Thank you, board members. That's going to really help us out. Right, we are down to our consent agenda. Superintendent recommends that the board approve the consent agenda as presented. To include,
Pack
item
lunch.
A, expenditures exceeding $3,000. Item B, payment of salaries and accounts payable. Item C, supplements and transfers. Item D, our field experiences. Item E are the minutes of your February 13th, 2024 regular board meeting. Item F is the self-assessment for Early Head Start. Item G is our Early Head Start carryover. Item H is the Early Head Start January 2024 monthly reports. Item I is the Early Head Start program plans. Item J is our Early Head Start school readiness. Item K is the Early Head Start disabilities plan. Item L is the Early Head Start dual language plan. Item M is the Early Head Start T&TA narrative summary. Item N is the Head Start grant application. Item O is our Head Start January 2024 monthly report. Item P is our Early Head Start transition plan. Item Q is our Early Head Start social and emotional plan. Item R is our Head Start data monitoring plan for 2024-2025. And finally, item S is the Early Head Start recruitment and enrollment plan.
I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments, board members?
Could I ask about the Early Head Start carryover?
Yep.
Because I'm curious as to whether or not that will come back to us for approval for those vehicles that they're buying?
It will. We're in the process of working on the RFP to put that out for bid.
Because I realize that's different, and it's not part of the state contract, so we can't get one of the state contracted vehicles.
Exactly, we have
and
to put it out
price.
for bid. The
Okay.
state didn't bid out vehicles this year.
And so then you will come back to us with that to
We
approve?
will,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you, Nicole.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the consent agenda as presented, signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Any board member updates?
Can we get a little more information on the AP seminar and what happened to the program and why it's not moving forward?
Sure, I can share information with you. Yeah.
I was at the Extension Services Committee meeting on Monday. They're going to come to us with, or be discussing with Nicole and Superintendent, the excess levy pays for the 4-H program assistant that's in Heather Tanton, that's in our schools, and working with our students. They had present a lot of the same information with how many students are affected. There was also was an opportunity to mention the Renaissance Academy because the Farm Bureau's there and a lot of the different groups. There are a couple people on that group who are interested in working on the committee and getting to their constituents, if you will. And there will be at 4-H camp in July the 8th. It's a Monday. That will be the evening that the Board of Education will be invited to dinner.
The bonfire.
Yes, and
What's
that
the
will
date?
be out at Camp Muffley.
July 9th.
And so they will, contact everyone. So that's the last meeting that I'll be participating in. And of course, at the beginning of July, you guys will nominate and vote on who's going to be the Extension Services person. So, lots going on out there. They're really making a difference for families. Some of the employees that have always been assigned to Monongalia County are doing some things in Preston County now too. I think the Extension Service is looking at consolidating, trying to regionalize some things for some employees as they're, looking at all that stuff. But it's amazing, and a big excitement is Clover Buds, which is K1 and 2, and they have everything out at the building at Milan Parks where they have their meeting, and then they're going to be able to go to a camp at the beginning of June at Camp Muffley, and there's also going to be a camp at Mason-Dixon Park for the students that are out in the western end of the county want to do that. So it is amazing when you look at the numbers and see how many people are impacted by 4-H in the Extension Service. So.
Okay, hearing no other updates, I don't think we have any policy.
We do. You're actually going to get a bunch of homework. So
nice work.
Jennifer has been working on your assignment diligently over the last several weeks, so I'm going to let her break the bad news to you. We talked about this a couple of months ago and how we were going to present to you a group of updates for you to review over a period of time and then bring that back for a lump sum approval. So she's going to talk to you a little bit about that plan and what that looks like. And so Jennifer, you want to lay it on them?
Sure. So if you are in your board docs page and you click on library, there's an arrow down from library, and you click board members, and then you'll see on your left there are some choices, and one of them says policy introduction. If you click on that, you'll see a list of policies there. Those are the policies that are in the update that was dated, mine's running very slowly here, April of 2023. So this is one group of updates, and if you look through them, you're going to see how they're marked up, how we would usually present them to you in an introduction. After this group, we will have one more group, and then we are up to date with where we are, or where we should be. So what we would like to ask is if you could take some time and review these, and if this is too soon, you can just let us know, but we would like to say, March 26th, we would like to bring them back to you for first reading, and ask that if you have questions in the meantime, that maybe you run those to Teresa, so that we know, it's going to be really hard for me to address specific questions with this many policies at a time. So if you have a policy, send it to Teresa. Other people might have the same, you have a question, other people might have the same question, and then we can address those at that March 26th meeting when we bring these back to you. Then it'll be the same as always. This group of policies would be voted on for first reading, and then they will be featured on the site for the public to see for first reading for 30 days and review and comment, and then the whole group would be brought back for second reading and adoption.
Good. So a little trial and error there. I know it's a little bit new and change of what we've been doing, but this will let us move a little quicker.
She said we'll be caught up and legislative session's over in 2 weeks. And then
Yes,
we'll be
so
behind. Start right
we'll be
then.
caught up
then we'll
just in
be-
time to be behind
Then
again.
we'll be behind again. It takes them a little while to get all the changes from the legislative session, so I think we can still get out ahead of it from that standpoint. But yeah, I think this will help us out tremendously. And as you read through those again, just forward questions. You can forward them to Teresa, forward them to me. I'll get them to Teresa. She'll compile those, and then we'll get those to Jennifer so that she can respond at that meeting on the 26th.
Yes,
26. Shut their computer down.
Okay.
Thanks for putting that together. Appreciate it.
Why don't you take a couple of these and we'll pass this down?
What's that? Okay.
Box.
No, no,
Take it.
I'm good. I got some.
All right, Superintendent, moving on to personnel matters. Thank you.
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm all right, actually.
Now passing that
I
down.
got something early in the meeting. I was like, what in the world?
We're going to need to get individual boxes.
There's something in this room.
At our next meeting. We are down to our personnel list. There are no changes. Superintendent recommends that the board approve the personnel list as presented this evening.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of the personnel list as presented signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
No new positions this evening, so we'll move to our personnel list addendum. There are no changes to the addendum. Superintendent recommends that the board approve the personnel list addendum as presented.
Okay, need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments on the addendum? Hearing none, all in favor of the personnel list addendum as presented signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Okay.
So what's the bus driver situation? I see we've got some resignations and some hires, so are we still even? Barely?
I won't call it even.
Okay.
I won't call it even. We're still down. We're still down.
Have you gotten much response to your message to the school community?
No.
Okay, and more contacting people as early as we can in the mornings to let them know that the bus will not be
We're
running
trying
for
to
them?
do it in the evenings.
Okay.
If we know in advance, we're trying to get that information out to our parent community as soon as we can do that. It's a little bit harder in the evenings because we're trying to get substitutes for the drivers that are out and trying to give Tony and Jason the opportunity to make the changes that they need to make, because again, we're trying to balance the runs so that we're not postponing the same runs or canceling the same runs all the time.
I think that's an excellent idea.
It helps, but it's not the
No, I'm
silver
saying as
bullet.
far as the community, it's
Yeah.
not the same.
Right,
Same
right.
one.
So I know they're trying their best to do that. Makes it very difficult when those two guys have to drive. If there was a way that I could keep them from getting behind the wheel, because it's, as you can imagine, I mean, it's just a madhouse in the transportation department in the mornings and the afternoons. And if those two guys aren't there to manage that, that makes it extremely difficult on just across the board. They can't answer their phone. They can't communicate while they're driving. They've got to abide by the same rules and regulations that our drivers do, and they can't make those calls that they need to make. So it's a difficult situation. But as I look across the state, to see, we're seeing the same things in neighboring counties and in counties all over the state where this is becoming more the norm than anything else. But
Have you heard anything about the legislature, big picture, asking the question why? I mean, I know when we spoke with them, I had told them what I had just come across talking to truck drivers and why they would not want to drive a bus, or what could be done to entice them to start driving bus as opposed to hauling things that blows up. But I didn't know if it went any further, or is it?
I haven't heard anything
I haven't either.
legislatively at all related to transportation of bus drivers from a legislative standpoint in this session. There's
just-
been no discussion.
Yeah, I mean, if that door always stuck and we came in that door, at some point we'd look at that door and say, I wonder what's wrong. I don't see us doing that as a state. You know, why doesn't somebody, I mean, part of the reason, I'm sure, is that they're hauling the most important commodity that they ever would in their life, and that's students. But there's got to be more of a reason, because when I talked to them, it wasn't the money. That never came up. Most time you say, well, if they paid more, that wasn't coming up number one every time when I would talk with them. But I don't know, maybe it's a,
Well, and it used to be they had to sit on a sub list and can get a job, but now you can finish your, your program, get your CDL, and you're driving.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
there is no waiting.
in the
So,
past, they didn't have any income while they're waiting. That's changed now, so
It's all changed.
I don't know that, but again, I'm hoping somebody's asking those questions out there. What would it take to get more in? Start out and say, okay, if we paid you $150,000 a year, would you drive bus? Then you see where that number comes from and see how, start somewhere and start asking the questions. Anyway, I get off the soapbox now.
Our next board meeting is Wednesday,
That's correct.
Wednesday, March
Yes.
13th at here in the administrative office. So.
Because of spring break.
There's no school.
There's no school.
There's no school on the 11th and 12th.
Just changed the meeting.
I had to read it twice, Nancy.
We're gonna have to change that.
We're adjourned.
Yeah.